I have with me today the Honourable David Lametti, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, Gary Anandasangaree, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, the Honourable Merrilee Fullerton, Minister of Children, Community and Social Services for Ontario, and Deepa Mattoo, Executive Director of the Barbra Schlifer Commemorative Clinic. We'll have the opportunity to hear short opening remarks from each of our guests, then we'll go to a Q&A. Je cède maintenant la parole au Parliamentary Secretary Gary Anandasangaree, who will say a few words. Parliamentary Secretary, the floor is yours.
Merci, Chantal. Good morning, bonjour. Greetings from Toronto on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And I'm excited to be joined here today by my colleague, the Honourable David Lametti, Minister of Justice and Attorney General. In a moment, he will talk about investments our government is making to increase legal support and services for those who experience family violence or intimate partner violence in Toronto and across the province. We're joined today by the Honourable Merrilee Fullerton, Minister of Children, Community and Social Services for the Government of Ontario, and Deepa Mattoo, Executive Director of the Barbra Schlifer Commemorative Clinic. And I want to particularly acknowledge the important work that the clinic has done over the many decades in advancing gender equality and also supporting women and gender diverse people in very difficult circumstances. I want to thank both of you for joining us today. No one should ever feel unsafe at home, particularly with the people who are meant to love and support them. But we know that violence is a reality for far too many people in Canada, and the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated unsafe situations at home. In addition, too many people continue to exist in the workplace. More than 4 women, 1 in 6 men, and almost half of LGBTQ plus they personally experienced inappropriate in the workplace behaviors during the last year. We must act urgently to support victims and survivors of sexual violence in all its forms. The Government of Canada can take action to maintain public confidence in the criminal justice system and support victims and survivors of crime. Recently, with Bill C-28, we took swift action to ensure that any person who consumes intoxicants in a criminally negligent manner, becomes extremely intoxicated and harms others, will be held criminally responsible for such acts. We understand that providing support to victims and survivors on legislative action and requires partnership with organizations that help those who have lived through these experiences find a safe and accessible path to justice. To that end, we're proud to announce support for Barbra Schlifer Commemorative Clinic, Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services. Through its Family Court Support Program, the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services service providers across the province that support survivors of family and intimate partner violence. The Barbra Schlifer Commemorative Clinic is a lifeline for people in Toronto who experience violence in the home or harassment in the workplace, especially racialized and vulnerable women, non-binary, intersex, and two-spirit people. By increasing access to these services in Toronto and in remote and rural areas, we build trust among vulnerable populations that their justice system is accessible and there are programs and support they need them. Thank you all for your tireless work and your invaluable contributions to end gender-based violence in our province. Now I turn the podium over to Mr. Lametti to provide more details on today's funding announcement. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.
Thank you, Gary. Hello, bonjour. Greetings from my office in Montreal, which is on the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee, but is also a site of meeting and exchange amongst a number of First Nations, including the Wendat, including the Cree, including the Anishinaabe and the Métis peoples. So very pleased to be with you from Montreal, and pleased to be joined by my Parliamentary Secretary, Gary Anandasangaree. let me just say in a sentence how fortunate I am to be able to work with Gary as parliamentary secretary. He is as intelligent as he is thoughtful, and he's so well connected in the legal community, precisely the circles in which we are making this announcement this morning. Thanks as well to the Honourable Merrilee Fullerton, Ontario's Minister of Children, Community and Social Services. Good to see you. And Deepa Mattoo, Executive Director of the Barbra Schlifer Commemorative Clinic. Thanks to both of you for being with us today. This is illustrative of what we can accomplish when we work together. We're here today to talk about how we are providing better access to justice for victims of sexual assault and intimate partner violence, as well as for those who experience workplace sexual harassment. Comme l'a mentionné Gary, la pandémie a entraîné une hausse de ces actes criminels, ce qui place les femmes, des enfants et d'autres personnes dans des situations dangereuses, sans réelle possibilité de fuir. Les statistiques sont extrêmement troublantes. Les féminicides ont augmenté de 26% de 2019 à 2021. Près de la moitié de ces femmes et de ces filles ont perdu la vie chez elles ou à l'endroit où elles habitent avec l'accusé. And outside of the home, sexual misconduct and harassment can also be present in the workplace. Women, especially in those male-dominated industries or low-wage and precarious jobs, are most often directly affected by sexual harassment, as are LGBTQ2+ persons and young people. No matter where these incidents happen, at home or in the workplace, they have a devastating impact. And far too often, they go unreported. Many people are unaware of their rights, they can't see a way out, or they are afraid to reach out for help. Some don't know how to take legal action within the justice system. Some might not have the financial resources to do so. Others simply give up after being referred from one organization to another, or they find information that doesn't seem to reflect their own experience. Our government has made important investments and changed the criminal law to better support victims of sexual violence. But we know there is still much more work to do. As we prepare to table Bill C-28, which Gary Anandasangaree just mentioned, which addressed rare and serious situations in which a person harms someone while in a state of self-induced extreme intoxication, we heard from stakeholders around the country about the underreporting of sexual violence and the need to build confidence in the criminal justice system. That's why we took swift legislative action to ensure individuals cannot escape liability for crimes of violence committed while in a state of self-induced extreme intoxication. But we're also aware that building confidence in the system will involve close partnerships with support organizations across the country, as well as with the provinces. That's why we are investing in partners like the province of Ontario and the Barbra Schlifer Commemorative Clinic. They're vital to our efforts to empower and support survivors and provide critical wraparound services and resources to increase access to justice. So I am pleased to announce that our government will provide more than $6 million over 5 years for 3 projects that support victims of sexual violence and people who experience workplace sexual harassment in Ontario. The Ontario Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services will receive $4.2 million to expand access to the province's Family Court Support Worker Program. This helps victims and survivors of intimate partner violence who are involved in the family court process. This funding will help the ministry increase access to these critical services for victims and survivors across the province, particularly in rural and remote areas. It will also work to strengthen coordination and referrals with other community services that help victims of intimate partner violence as they leave abusive relationships. The Barbra Schlifer Commemorative Clinic will receive more than $1.83 million for 2 projects to support people who experience sexual and intimate partner violence, as well as workplace sexual harassment. The It's My Choice project will help the BSCC expand its services to support victims of sexual assault, IPV, and gender-based violence. This includes establishing a provincial network to better support victims across the province and providing more training and support for legal experts to deliver trauma-informed legal services that are tailored to survivors' various lived experiences. Its second project, #AndMeToo, will create comprehensive, trauma-informed, multilingual resources to support people who've experienced workplace sexual harassment in the hospitality and service industry. The project will focus on helping people understand what their rights are, what steps to take, and where they can find support in their communities, as well as how they can navigate the justice system and how to approach their employers. Together, these three projects share common goals: empowering and informing people, offering them safety and support, and giving them the tools and resources they need to understand their rights and pursue legal options. Funding is provided through two Justice Canada programs, the Victims Fund and the Justice Partnership and Innovation Program, JPIP. L'annonce d'aujourd'hui s'inscrit dans le cadre de l'engagement pris par notre gouvernement dans le budget de 2021 d'investir une somme de 48,75 millions de dollars sur une période de 5 ans afin d'assurer l'accès gratuit à des conseils et en représentation juridique aux personnes ayant vécu une agression sexuelle ou de la violence entre partenaires intimes. L'annonce prend également appui sur les efforts que nous déployons actuellement pour établir une stratégie nationale contre la violence fondée sur le genre, visant à prévenir la violence fondée sur le sexe, à soutenir les personnes survivantes et leurs familles et à promouvoir des systèmes juridiques et judiciaires adaptés. It also comes under our Budget 2018 commitment to invest $50 million over 5 years to address sexual harassment in the workplace and eliminate gender-based violence and harassment. In closing, I want to commend the Ontario Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services and the Barbra Schlifer Commemorative Clinic for their support of victims and survivors of violence in Toronto and across the province. Together, we can build a stronger justice system that's people-centered, accessible, and more just for everyone. Thank you. Merci. I now turn over the floor to Minister Fullerton.
Thank you, Minister Lametti. It is a real pleasure to join Minister Lametti and all of you for this very important announcement in support of survivors. Criminal justice is our shared responsibility, and Ontarians expect all levels of government to work together to keep our communities safe and strong. And we've heard over and over that the legal system is confusing and overwhelming to navigate, which is why we must strengthen supports for those affected. Working in partnership with frontline agencies and under the leadership of Premier Ford, our government is strengthening the delivery of victim services across the province. Today's investment into Ontario's Family Court Support Worker Program will help survivors of domestic violence get the services they need and deserve at every stage of the family court process. And this includes better needs assessment for clients, information about the family court process, support to prepare for family court proceedings, assistance in accessing legal resources, safety planning, and referrals to community resources such as shelters, counseling, and employment services. It's crucial that we support women during what is most likely the most difficult time in their lives. And we're grateful to the 43 agencies across the province who deliver their work with kindness and compassion. And working with each of you and with the federal government, we will continue to strengthen the delivery of victim services in Ontario. Thank you, Minister Lametti, and thank you to every single one of you for your work to support survivors.
Thank you, Minister Fullerton. Now we pass the floor to Ms. Mattoo for her remarks.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Deepa Mattoo. I'm Executive Director of Barbra Schlifer Commemorative Clinic. The clinic was opened in 1985 in memory of Barbra Schlifer, a young lawyer who was assaulted and killed on the night of her call to the bar celebration. The clinic was opened to commemorate her legacy and commitment to social justice. The Schlifer Clinic is the only clinic of its kind in Canada. It provides holistic and accessible services to those who have experienced gender-based violence. Our services include legal representation, counseling, interpretation services, and advocacy. The clinic has assisted over 100,000 women and gender diverse survivors from marginalized and racialized communities since we opened our doors. Last year alone, the clinic served 14,000 clients. We lead our services in a trauma-informed, client-centric approach and realistic risk assessment and safety planning processes. Our work is executed in collaboration with the survivors experiencing violence. The clinic's Family Court Support Program, funded by Ontario's Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services since 2011, has been assisting clients who have experienced violence and abuse in 3 of Toronto's busiest family courts. The clinic is grateful and thrilled at today's announcement. I want to thank Department of Justice and Honorable David Lametti for recognizing the importance of the 2 projects announced today. The multi-year funding announced today will further ensure and increase access to trauma-informed legal services and advice through the clinic's own projects, own work, but also through the associated network of service providers. Our vision for #AndMeToo has always been to provide services to individuals who are left out of the Me Too movement, and then access services and information needed to make informed decisions about their experiences and legal rights. Our hope is that this work, and with its continued effort, will make sure that survivors as well as employers understand what their role is in fighting gender-based violence and sexual harassment in particular. We are also hoping that the survivor will be able to understand and navigate the justice system when they are most precarious and vulnerable. Likewise, the funding for the It's My Choice project will significantly enhance the clinic's capacity to support more survivors of sexual assault, intimate partner violence, and gender-based violence across Ontario. Our hope is through the network of our in-person and remote services and through the services through our satellite locations located all across Ontario, we will be able to connect with most vulnerable, marginalized, remote, and rural survivors of violence. The clinic is grateful for this enhanced capacity. I'm more grateful for the multi-year funding model that has been chosen in this path, because multi-year model means that there is predictable funding, there is stability in the environment, as well as for the hundreds of survivors who will receive services. So again, thank you, Minister, and thank you for this commitment to the cause.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Mattoo. We will now begin the question and answer session. A reminder to please virtually raise your hand to indicate that you would like to ask a question. Please press *6 before asking a question if you're dialing in. Nous allons maintenant amorcer la période de questions et réponses. N'oubliez pas de lever virtuellement la main pour poser une question. Si vous nous suivez par téléphone, veuillez appuyer sur *6 avant de poser votre question. Nous allons d'abord répondre aux questions des participants par vidéo, puis celles des personnes au téléphone. As usual, you get 1 question and 1 follow-up. S'il vous plaît, posez votre question dans la langue officielle de votre choix. Feel free to ask your question in either official language. Just give a few seconds for those who might be raising their hands. And a reminder by phone, it's *6, étoile 6, si vous nous rejoignez par le téléphone. Last call. I don't see any hands up, so that concludes this announcement. Merci beaucoup à tout le monde qui nous rejoint.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. This was an easy one. Thank you for your good work, Deepa, and good to see you, Merrilee and Gary.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.